Hey, are we live?
Yep, we're now live.
It looks like we're running hot right now because I gotta tell you, man, I had to calm down. I had to calm down because this is the first sentence I'll say about Joker, because it's not the Joker, it's just Joker, and they marketed it that way. This is the least amount of fun I've ever had watching one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. Fun I've ever had. It doesn't get better. People, when you watch this movie, you're going to be enthralled. This is going to take you places, and it doesn't get better. And you'll still be there getting punched in the head and enjoying every minute of it.
Okay, that's a pretty big opening up for you. When and we know it's called Joker. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna make sure I put up the information for the people. I want y'all to understand that I would encourage. I encourage everyone to go see this movie, but also to understand this is the movie that is going to take you places emotionally and psychologically. It's going to trigger things in you. And because this movie has that innate entity of nature, it's not going to be talking to you, but what's inside you. That is a damn good movie. Because I could never take my eyes off of that. Even though some things made me want to, like, maybe I should just go. But I was like, I don't want to go because part of me needs to know how this is. And I can resonate with this. So I'm going to let you kick it off. Welcome, everyone. This would be our second episode, but our first movie review ever, which we look to do many more. I'm here with my partner, Yusef Watif. And you can also find him at yusefwatif.com, as well as I am known as BMT, BMT Black Male Talk. You can find us on our channels in the description below. So if you look at the description below, please click the link, subscribe, support the channel, or if you have any comments, please put it in there. Put it in the comments. I'll read the comments. Yusef will read the comments. We're thick-skinned like that. We appreciate people's opinions. Just be respectful. That is very much needed. We love comics. We love anime, and we do that. This is predominantly our playground where we can do that. Talk about comics, anime, and philosophy. We like to look at these things and bring out the philosophy in there. Me and Yusef came up with this channel. I always was a big comic book go-getter. And Yusef said, "Hey, I want to review anime," and I'm like, I love anime also. And I was like, let's do that. We're both successful men and we both have a passion for this. So I'm definitely, we're definitely going to do that. I know Yusef tomorrow, he wants to do an open panel talking about the Joker at some time. And and we're going to share that on our channels. And I can't wait for that, but then we'll have more people who are going to dialogue with us. But for right now, we're going to be dissecting this on the mental philosophical level. So we're going to be cutting pounds of flesh from this right here on what is Joker. So I pass it over to my partner, Yusef. Kick it off, partner.
Well, I want to start the movie in the year 1980.
Yep.
Because what a lot of people don't remember about the year 1980, you might not have been born then, or you might not have read about it. President Jimmy Carter signed the MHSA, the Mental Health Systems Act. And it put a lot of things in place that helped people with mental illnesses, particularly people who were in mental institutions. 1981, President Ronald Reagan repealed it, which directly resulted in countless people with mental issues that range from mild to severe being dumped out onto America's streets. That's something you can Google on your own. Mm-hmm. And that's where the movie starts. Because when you had people who are so extraordinarily mentally incapacitated that all they can do is be given a warm place to sleep that's safe so they don't hurt themselves. But what happens when you get people on that fence? People who can pretend to be normal just long enough to not get help because friends may not see it or recognize it, and to still be a danger to themselves and others. And that's where we start to see Joker bloom.
Right. And
it's that crack.
I'm pulling up for you right now, partner. Let me go ahead and grab it.
It's that crack.
Jimmy Carter's Presidential Commission on Mental Health. It is literally and that was around the same, and that is also the same time movie. So they actually did spot on their research with that being spot on. So that's a good eye catch right there. That's a really good eye catch right there.
Yeah. Well, what they did is they wanted to show you that this was someone who fell through the cracks. I think what made Joker different from I'm going to go all the way back to Cesar Romero, who was the clown prince of clown prince of crime, always telling jokes and doing things. Then you got the grim Jack Nicholson Joker, which was an amazing and a stunning Joker. And then we got Heath Ledger, for whom everyone looked at and said he redefined the role. Then we got this is embarrassing. I can't remember the name of the Joker.
Jay Leno.
What was his name?
Jay Leno. Yeah, I know. He played the that was the Suicide Squad.
But it was awkward when you realize that his Joker kind of went unnoticed because Suicide Squad was not a very good movie. And now you have Joaquin Phoenix, who nobody would have pegged for being a Joker. My goodness. Yeah. He knocked it out of the park. He did this character in a way that no one saw coming. No one saw a Joker that wasn't indestructible, who had human frailties and foibles, who genuinely needed help. And see how he takes those tiny steps. And, remember in The Godfather when he said, "It's not personal," and Al Pacino looks back at him and says, no, every piece of shit a man is forced to eat is personal. Do you remember that? That's what happened with the Joker. That's what happened with the Joker.
And man,
what was your first what do you rate the movie? I gave it a 10 out of 10. I'm just gonna go out there and say I gave it a 10 out of 10 because they rewrote the mythology in a way that connected everything in ways that were completely unimaginable.
What? I gave it a 10. I gave it a 10 because this was, and mind you, I have PTSD, so I know what it's like to be labeled by society. And hearing and watching, I'm saying, out of all the Jokers from the Jack Nicholson, the Mark Hamill, Cameron Monaghan, he plays in the Gotham, the show, and here we have the guy who plays the Joker up right now, Zach. I literally felt him. I understood his spirit because of how mental health in society had failed. And going back to the 1980s that's where it was, where the city was had a trash problem, which has some symbolism, and literally,
I think they wanted it to be Chicago.
Yes, Gotham is Chicago. Okay. And the symbolism of the trash and saying that there's trash everywhere, and you know what, you can't go nowhere without seeing trash. To me, that was symbolic of there's issues and problems everywhere. But watching how people
were so numb to the stench and filth of the garbage all over Gotham. That was very telling, because what that showcased was that regardless of how bad it stunk or how bad the issues were, people chose to just walk by the filth rather than clean up the trash. And
I have to disagree, though. I don't think it was a people thing. That trash issue showed you the cold indifference that the state and federal government had towards those people. For people who also don't watch this, they keep talking about rats. They never show one up close, but in different scenes in the movie, you see these rats that are as big as a loaf of bread. And they talk about how, well, nobody cares. Nobody really cares that the average and common person is living in filth. The proletariat masses.
okay. Well, that's what. Well, see, the thing about it to me is like, if it was a state problem. Now, mind you, when we look at Arthur, when we talk about Arthur, or the character of the Joker,
Right.
Here was a man that literally, in living in this type of era, they showcase him continuously going to the psychiatrist.
Right.
And he told them, listen, I felt safer in the mental health than out here. I was better in there.
Well, let's even unpack that, because when you look at the similarities between, and I don't just mean on the surface, but on a deeper level, there are two black women that play his counselors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that we also don't see that there are things that happen in this movie that are the product of a fevered imagination, of a diseased mind. And the way that they unpack to show you that there are things in this movie that you saw through his eyes that were not real makes you go back and question everything you're watching.
Right.
So you have to now go back and watch it again with the clear understanding that you may not be, what is the term, that you may not have a neutral third party giving his opinion of his own life. It's a mind who you know from the beginning is mentally ill. So that's the crazy part. They tell you this man is mentally ill, yet you go on believing him as an honest broker of his surroundings.
Right.
And they said it's not even a setup. They tell you from the beginning the guy is crazy. He doesn't know what he's seeing or saying, yet you go on believing what you see him say and what you hear him do are sane.
I find it very telling. He asked for, I need meds. He said, I need meds. And he said, my meds aren't working. And the lady said, one
You're
time,
on 7, right?
Huh?
Wasn't he on 7 different medications?
He was on 7 meds. Now,
Right.
Naturally, when you take meds, the doctor would ask you, well, bring in your meds and let's reevaluate them. Because if these meds aren't working, then we need to actually get you the meds that will work for you. So what that tells me is that this is also looking at the opioid crisis. See, all this told you, this movie is very cutthroat deep. They rather just keep on pushing out pills and drugs out there to the people, rather than actually, okay, instead of giving y'all 7 meds, I could just give you 3 meds that could possibly counteract and help you to get you leveled out. I could probably put you in a group home and help you through your problem. But the easy solving issue is, I'll just give you meds, Arthur, and it's all fine. Just take the meds, shut up. She never read his book, really. She didn't read his book.
Well, his book, let's tell him what the book is, though.
Go ahead.
His counselor suggests that he keep a journal every day of what he's feeling, what he's doing, and what he's saying. But he also used it as a joke book. And it really gives you an insight into how his mind works, or rather, that his mind doesn't work. Because the things that he writes down when he's observing professional comedians talk and tell jokes, he doesn't understand. His mind can't comprehend the connections between words, humor, and what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. So he writes down things about jokes that aren't the part that make it funny, but he doesn't understand what makes it funny because his brain, his mind is so disconnected. And as she goes through it, she realizes, she's a trained professional who's been ground to a pulp under a state system that will never reward you for working with common people. And she just sees it and realizes this guy really needs help, but what can she do?
That is very interesting and that's very true. I can't nip at you for saying that, because naturally in the notes, if you ever got to see the note, he opens up and says, "I hope my death means something."
No, hold on. Let me make sure I get this quote right, because it's the spelling that gives it a different meaning. And he says, I'm gonna try and pull a picture, but he says, "I hope my." Let me see. Hold on a second. My dad. Oh, come on. Where is it? Let me see. Hold on. I'll have to look it up to see if I can get a clean shot of it from the internet. But it says, "I hope my death makes more sense than my life." And by sense, he spells it CENTS.
Yes. And I would say when he says sense as in the money, and he sees himself as, "I have no value in this society. I don't." He was telling her about stuff that meant something to him. He was talking about what he heard on the radio. He was talking about jokes. Time and time again, we have people in society that tell us about things in their life that give them some type of glimmer of weight or merit, and people will not listen. And in him saying that he talked about dying, she didn't, not to say that she didn't care, but she just closed the book,
right,
and handed it right back to him as, "You want me? I can't do nothing about it. I'm sorry."
And then she said, "I got bad news for you. This is our last conversation. They've cut all of our funding."
She didn't tell him that yet. She
No?
didn't tell him that yet. We're jumping ahead. She just
Nope.
told him, "Take your meds. I can't give you your meds." And as you watch him go home, they start to show you his journey of, they first break down his ailment. He has a disorder. He has a laughing Joker has a laughing disorder, which is actually a real thing. Let me pull it up for you. That a lot of that actually a lot of people that are there, it's not unrare. It's not unrare, but I've seen it actually before.
Really?
And yes, I actually see, like, when I go to the VA, sometimes when we have group counseling just to talk, there's a guy who laughs continuously. Like, he will tell you, actually, like, "I'm sorry." He'll be crying, but he's laughing. It can be us just sitting there and somebody said, "Well, I thought of you guys. I made you banana pudding." He'll just start laughing. It's at random times he has this. And the thing about it is, he handed out the card to the lady in the bus with the child. And people did not know how to gauge it. Like, she just like, "Freak." And what that sometimes I can't but help but feel for some people who do have disorders or ailments, and there's nothing they can seriously do about that. They can't help themselves. Big Pharma, huh? Sounds like they really looked at today's society, unfortunately. I agree.
So we're going to call it PBA, which is pseudobulbar affect, or emotional incontinence, is a type of emotional disturbance characterized by uncontrollable episodes of crying and or laughter or other emotional displays. PBA occurs secondary to a neurologic disorder or, wait for it, brain injury.
Right.
Brain injury.
So, and I want y'all to put that in y'all notes about that, because there's quite a few people in our community or in our society who have different ailments of disorders that they cannot it's no fault of their own. Something happened to them, something probably triggered it, something could have happened to them when they were younger, that they literally, that's how their mind copes, or that's how it operates now. There would literally there's literally, I have a family member of mine, because of something traumatic had happened to him, whenever he gets around a certain smell, he has to feel like he has to go urinate. So it's not like he can really help it, but we know that there's something wrong with him, where he feels like he doesn't have to physically pee, but he feels like he has to go pee. Okay. So there are, to put it like, we fully don't truly understand the human mind. Y'all, let's be fair. We truly don't understand the human mind at its full capacity. The human brain is still not fully solved. But as we start to learn that there are people that do have different problems, such as Arthur Fleck, and he goes home to the one person that he can trust in. And as he's going there, he runs into a lady on the elevator. I pass it over to Yusef.
Oh, wow. You want to hand me the hot one. Of course, he lives in a dilapidated building. He's dirt poor. He lives with his mother, who's also got mental issues, and she's old. And Zazie Beetz. Now, some of you might remember her from Atlanta. I'm sure she did other things. But Atlanta is where I was introduced to her. She was in, what movie was she in? She was in a recent superhero movie, Deadpool.
Yes, she plays as Domino.
Yes, she plays Domino, and that's her. You know, stunningly beautiful woman, and she plays a single mom with a daughter who meets him on the elevator. And her daughter is just babbling as children do, and she looks at him and goes, "Oh." And because he doesn't have any real understanding of social conditions or how to reciprocate laughter when he gets off the elevator, he does the same thing, but in a very creepy way.
Yes.
And right after that, how can I put it?
Yeah, he kind of messed up that. He did set up on the elevator. He really blew that one.
Yeah. He became very infatuated with her. Because remember, very few people talk to him at all. And only a smaller minority of those people are actually women. Women have a much more powerful and tuned radar for people who are slightly socially awkward, because that could cost her dearly to be around a man that, let's see, did they use them? No, they didn't go with Jack Napier. No. His name was Fleck.
Yeah, Arthur Fleck.
Arthur Fleck. So he becomes infatuated with her. He follows her. And this is where, I mean, can we talk about how things get gray here?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. He followed her to her office. We don't know why he was following her. Maybe he wanted to see where she worked. Maybe he's going to find her and kill her. We don't know. It's just something he did. Later that night, knock on the door. He opened it. It's her. Did you follow me to work today? Yeah, sorry. I thought you were going to come in and rob the bank. And she made a joke out of it. But after that, every now and then he'd see her, and when different, at different points in the movie, it would just be like them hanging out on the street, looking at something on the street together, or in a restaurant, having a snack, normal stuff. And she seemed to be one of the very few normal anchors in his life, one of the few islands of normalcy. And I got to tell you, I got nervous because I thought they're just going to kill her off to be his trigger. They're going to kill this girl off because I'm in love with this beautiful woman. They're going to kill her, and that's what's going to start the ball rolling in a different direction. Then I thought, okay, well, maybe she'll turn out to be the new Harley Quinn. But Joe, you wanna let him in on the gag?
No, we're going to do that later. But we're jumping over something that is very telling.
What?
Arthur had got beat up very badly. When Arthur had got beat up very badly by a group of hoodlums, Arthur, when he went back to work the next day, one of his co-workers gave him a gun. Now, this gun, he was like, I can't have that. We're not allowed to have that. He said, Arthur, you got to learn to stand up for yourself. If you don't, everybody's going to run over you and walk over you. Don't worry. Just take it. You just owe me. Pay me back. Now, Arthur takes the gun. Now, mind you, the guy gives him the gun in a paper bag.
Yeah. A brown paper bag.
A brown paper bag. I was like, Arthur, don't take the gun, man. Don't take the gun. It's so shady. That gun. I was like, Arthur, don't take that gun, man. It's probably that gun is dirty as hell, man. Like, that gun is so damn dirty. But Arthur takes the gun. And I'm not sure if you got a picture of that gun, of him taking the gun.
But no, I think it's too early to be able to get that full. But let me.
Right. I mean, like I said, we still want y'all to go see it. So, but the fact that he takes the gun it's very telling because now he's being given the power. So he goes to his boss, but he's getting called in. Now, mind you, everybody inside around him is cracking jokes on him, calling him names. But the smallest guy, I think he's a midget.
He's a midget.
He doesn't call him names or anything. He just says, Arthur, the boss wants to see you. So he goes in to see him. The boss is telling him that you're a freak. Everybody's weirded out by you. You make us all creep. You creep us out, but I like you. Just shut up. And he's just running into him everything. Like, it's your fault why you got beat up. It's your fault that you lost that sign. I'm going to take it out of your paycheck. Mind you, he already doesn't make hardly next to nothing. Right. That's coming out of his paycheck. And he's street. Like, nobody got me. Yeah, I had to get up and walk back home beat up. Because as you look at him at work, they show you the bruise marks all over his body.
All over his back. Yeah, he took a beating. He took one hell of a beating.
He took a pretty bad beating. And yet, for the people who are watching this, no matter what we say, we're not going to do it justice. You do need to go see the movie. If you're relying on us to give you the movie experience, you're cutting yourself short because this is an amazing film. But going back to the original, he didn't deserve the beating. He's just, I think a lot of people may not necessarily recognize a Joker in their life, but we've all recognized someone who didn't quite have the social awareness that most of us do, and that made them stick out as someone who was slightly weird. And at best, people ignore them. At worst, people try to take advantage of them or made fun of them. But we all know in different places where there's been somebody who you talk to them and you look at them and you realize for them 1 + 1 doesn't quite equal 2 the way it does for you. The things they say, the way they behave, the way they interact. I agree because what was very interesting was the whole time that guy was chewing him out, Arthur was smiling.
Right.
Arthur just smiled and laughed. Well, he didn't laugh, but he was just smiling back at him and just taking that bewilderment of verbal abuse. Mind you, I don't advise anybody to take that type of verbal abuse. You are a human being, and I encourage you, if your boss says something to you, you do have something called EO. I mean, depending on where you're at in your life. And if you know, like, hey, this is too much for me, listen, it's time for you to go find another job. But however, some people do not have that option to go find another job. They just have to just take it. And that's a false narrative. But Arthur was standing there just taking verbal psychological abuse. And goes to a scene where he's stomping, and you're thinking he's stomping and beating on a body. And he's just there for a good few minutes, just beating and stomping on the body in the back alley. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, who's he killing? And then after that, you notice he's in the alley falling down into the trash. And that was showing how he felt, like powerless. Like, and time again, we see these episodes happen on TV, on Facebook, on social media, where people hold these things inside and they lash out on the wrong people at the wrong time, and they take a life, or they do some damage, or something happens at a school or somewhere else, because they do not actually express themselves how they truly are feeling, and they hold it inside.
Yeah.
And that happened.
That's scary, because not everybody turns into a Joker. I think it's more likely that people hurt themselves than someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one of the tragedies, to realize these people do exist who live in small corners of the world, and they're more likely to hurt themselves or someone they love than anything else.
I agree, brother.
And
I so agree.
Well, to be clear, Arthur definitely hurts people. This is a Joker movie, but it's not the way you think. It's not Heath Ledger. It's not this boom bang filled adventure with bombs and smoke grenades. It's a slow burn, and at every step you kind of cringe, thinking this could get so much worse. And then it does. Then it does get worse. Then you realize everything you've seen could have been even worse than that, when how much of it was real. Did his mother get sick because he fed her oatmeal, or because policemen aggravated her and she had a stroke?
I got a question. Now let's ask this. How was Arthur's relationship with his mother? How would you want to gauge that from when we first started out? Oh, we're gonna start cutting in deep.
His relationship with his mother was completely
when it first started.
It wasn't healthy, because he was an adult man that should have had his own life and his own things. Instead, he was in a situation where he literally had to physically take care of his mother, that kept him away from being around other people that may have helped socially train him to be a little bit more accepted. He had a mother who turns out wasn't the nice woman that we thought she was.
Right.
We have a woman who he may have hurt before he even found out that she may have been deserving of compassion, because whereas everybody else, when they realized that his mother was actually a very sick in the head woman, everyone in the theater was thinking, oh yeah, we should get her. I was thinking, she's not a bad woman. She's just a woman that needs help. She needs a doctor. Oh, side note, do you know who her doctor was? Did you notice on the notes?
That was the same guy for when he was in office. Am I correct?
I don't know who his doctor was when he was there, but I can certainly tell you that Benjamin Stoner, that was his name, Dr. Benjamin Stoner. I'm going to show you something real quick here, depending on how deep down the comic book rabbit hole you guys want to go with me. Dr. Benjamin Stoner was a doctor at Arkham Asylum when he was chosen by the Lord of Chaos and to act as
I'm loving this.
Yeah. And the Lord of Chaos took this guy and made him an agent of chaos. So the doctor that took care of his mother was someone who was actually an agent of evil and bad things. He himself was someone who was a terrible human being. And now we have to go back and say, well, did he do something bad to
manipulate
the situation? Because she always told him, hey, your dad is actually this rich Thomas Wayne guy. We had an affair when I was a young girl when I used to work there, and then I had you, and then I had to go away. Now I'm trying to get money from him to help you, and every day she would write him a letter, put it in the mail, and she would say, I don't know why he's not writing me back. But then we find out his mom did time in a mental institution. What did everybody tell him? The one thing you don't want to hear about somebody you care about. They said, she's crazy. Whatever she told you is a lie. There are other reveals that are even deeper than that probably I don't even know if we want to.
Nope, we don't want. We ain't gonna give them that because that would just blow your mind.
Yeah, but there's some mind-blowing revelations.
I think one of the things about it, and in that telling of that showcase, it's a chapter of how well do you know your parents, and if somebody told you something about your parents that was true, would you still see them the same way? You see, Arthur, after, dealing with his mom, that night, and, what I'm saying, them sitting in bed together. And
yeah, he slept in the same bed with his mom.
Yeah, see, that
of poverty.
That to me was very disturbing.
Yeah. He should have been sleeping either on the floor or on the couch, even if they were poor.
They were sleeping. Arthur slept in the same bed with his mom.
Now, to be clear, there was nothing sexual about it. It was just kind of like you could tell he was a man-child, that he hadn't grown up mentally.
Well, looking at the way how he was sitting in bed while they were watching TV, it's almost as if he was a boy.
Yeah.
He was a boy. I was like taking off his shoes and sitting in there like, I was like, what the hell? You're a grown-ass man. Why are you? What are you doing?
How often have we seen single mothers turn their son into the next man of the house? Because there is no man of the house. They're now looking at a child and asking him to fill the emotional void that her husband should have.
Very true. It got really deep and dark in that world. And tell you right now, because he blacked out. Well, he blinked out, and it shows him in his mind because they watched Robert De Niro,
television show,
who's on a television. He plays as Murray.
Who was basically a Jimmy Fallon.
Right. And hang on, let me make sure if you got it up there. And while he was doing that, he was picturing himself in the audience of the show. In that Murray noticed him out of everybody in the audience. And he said, Murray, my mom told me. And as he recited like he was a little boy, and everybody in the audience was so proud of him and laughing and enjoying him. And Murray had him come down and shake his
come down.
Come on down. You know what I'm saying? Like the Price is Right. Come on down. And he was like so happy and everything. Everybody's cheering. Oh! And he was like, I wish I had a son like you. And he was like, and I was like, you're a grown-ass man. Like, I was like, daddy issues.
Right around the time when the little red flags go off, because He was in the audience. He happened to have said something that the host found interesting. They put a spotlight on him. He gets to go on stage. He's essentially doing, if you're a kid who goes to a pro wrestling show and one of the wrestlers brings you into the ring to take a picture with him, that's basically what happened. And then you realize he's living fantasy.
And he goes to work to go at a.
Did we know his job is? Did we tell him all about his job?
His job is his job. His job is he's a clown. Yeah, we said his job is a clown where he entertains.
Yeah, he's a professional clown. You can call him for birthdays or for children's hospitals who need clowns. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he dances around and he's at a hospital now. I mean, he's doing a pretty good job, you know what I'm saying, for kids of, I think, got cancer and leukemia and everything.
Yeah.
You know, they're in recovery. And while he's dancing, saying, if you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. And the minute he stomps his feet, that gun that his associate co-worker gives him drops out. And it slides so dramatically in front of everybody.
It's hilarious.
But it was like so on time of how all the kids and the nurses and the doctors, they all in the room with him, just saw that.
Just saw a gun come out of your belt. And it's interesting because the very next scene, you hear his boss telling him over the phone. He said, no, maybe it was a fake gun. It was a fake gun for my act. And his boss said, what kind of clown carries a fucking gun? You're at a children's hospital for children with cancer and leukemia, and you had a pistol in your belt?
I was dying. He was like, clowns don't carry freaking guns. What's going on? Oh my God. I was trying so hard. I was like, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it made so much sense. Like, I was like, what clown carries a gun to a hospital? Like this is some dark humor. But he was like, you're fired. And he was like, don't do this. This is all I have.
Yeah.
Mind you, the job that he has is pretty low. It's
like minimum wage plus $1.
Right. And he gets made fun of doing that job. He gets degraded a lot. And the fact that he said, this is all I have, and the guy took it away from him, and he smashes his head into the glass. He was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you took the one thing I do need away from me. And it was pretty, I was like, God damn.
Right.
I said, God damn, man. So he gets on the bus. I mean, he gets on the train, and this is where we start to go down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to Yusef. Go ahead, bro.
Well, when he gets on the train, he sees three men who may or may not have been planning on doing something terrible start harassing a woman and saying, hey, do you want some of my French fries? The woman is clearly sitting there reading a book peacefully, but this is big city at night on a train. One thing leads to another. They throw a French fry at her, and she gets up to walk away, trying to get away from them, and the Joker is laughing uncontrollably. So, like the bullies do, the three of them walk over to him. What do you think you're laughing at? Blah, 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 blah. And he takes yet another ass whooping by other bullies. And out of nowhere, while the bullies are literally kicking him, all you hear is pop, pop, pop. And out of the three of them, two of them just laid out immediately. He just worked two of them. Boom, boom, pistol out, boom, boom. Now the third one was running away, and he shot at him, but he didn't get it. As he was getting off the train, he looks at the guy and realizes he got him in the leg. And what ends up happening? He catches this guy and finishes him on the stairs. Right there.
Yep.
Finished him. And I want to be clear about this version of Joker. He never did that whole part in a lot of movies where before somebody becomes a person capable of killing, they do the 10-minute in the mirror thinking, how do I feel about this? What am I going to do? When he decided to go for it, he went for it every time. There was no, if he decided it's go time, it's time for you to go.
Right. Yeah. He was definitely the thing about it was Arthur was not naturally.
Say that again. He was not what?
Arthur was the type of person who was always timid.
Right.
Where when you looked at him, he was always slunched over. He was always stuttering. He was always unsure of himself. But watching how he was dealing with these guys, he started to change up.
Mm.
He started to change up because he had an innate nature of whereas to when the guy was moving, he knew how to bob and weave. He was hitting his targets.
Right.
And I was like, damn, for a dude who never handled a pistol before, because the night before you were like freaking out pulling the trigger. But here it is, you're taking a lot. Doing this and he begins to run and he gets in the bathroom in like a dirty, danky bathroom. And this is where I got confused.
What happened?
Well, he started to dance.
He does a very interesting dance, people. Throughout the entire movie, he has this clown
mesmerizing. Go look at it. You said pull up a deck of cards. Pull up a deck of cards showing a Joker. Showing a Joker.
Deck of cards.
Joker picture. Pull that up. Now when I think about it, I know where it comes from. Because a jester, because the way how his body moved and how he contorted himself and how he would act in there was very interesting. It was almost like he was dancing in the moment. Like,
yeah.
There you go. All right. So how you see those cards up there at top with the way how their bodies are. You see how they have the hands out. Mind you, when he was in his draws, he was dancing like the one to the furthest to the left. You see how the cards, you see how his feet are crossed. Remember when he was in the bathroom? He had his feet like that also. So a lot of how these jesters are dancing on these cards. Right. That is, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, that's his motif.
That was exactly. He was literally gesturing and enjoying the inept nature of what he did. I didn't think that, I just thought of it, and I said, why is he dancing like that? Like, it's something eerie about it because the music.
It's eerie and disturbing the way he dances. But listen, I'm getting a little tired because it's really late here. I had to go to a midnight showing. Okay. Can we pick this up at this point in the movie on our next chat?
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you.
We want to thank you guys for coming. And I know that we did this late. I know he's in São Paulo, Brazil.
Right.
And I am in, I'm on the East Coast. So it's like 11. Actually, it's 12 something. So we are doing this pretty late, but this is the part 1 review of the Joker. Not the Joker, of Joker. We hope you guys do enjoy. You can find the channel links to us down below. We will be doing a chat, but we want to do a breakthrough of this so far. I think we were killing it really well. Yeah. But we'll see you guys later on. we're gonna get some rest, and we'll see you guys later. All right. Peace, and y'all have a good day.
Let's see here.